One of the things in which D&D lacks is the ability to play as species options with different configurations of limbs. The centaur is probably the most memorable one, along with maybe the Thrycreen. There's one too many or too few R's in there. And it limits the number of characters that you can build as a result. If you want to build someone like, oh, I don't know, let's say Red 13 from Final Fantasy VII, then you have to put some work in. That is until you get access to Frontiers of Eberron Quickstone, which recently came to D&D Beyond, because that brings with it a warg species, which is a quadrupedal species and is really cool. And the moment I saw it, I knew I wanted to build around it. And so today we are going to build one of my favorite characters ever, Red 13 or Nanaki from Final Fantasy VII. In fact, he's so good that this is a tattoo of him. I'm not getting the whole chest out. That's his thing. His hair, his mane. I know how words work. Hello, my name is Jason, and this is my channel, The Dungeon Himbo, where I talk about the character builds, I talk about third-party reviews, I do all sorts of other stuff as well. If you like the sound of any of that, please subscribe to the channel. Trying to get to 3K by the end of the year, which is theoretically doable. And like the video as well. If you like it, there's also a Discord if you want to hop on in. But let's talk about who Red 13 is. A playable character from the Final Fantasy VII series and various iterations. He is a lion-esque beast from a species that's not really given much explanation. His home is Cosmo Canyon, and he was kidnapped while he was 48. Well, kidnapped, and he is 48 now at the time of the story going on. His species is a lot more long-lived than most, though, so he's actually the equivalent of about 15 or 16 years old if you compare him to humans. He ends up taking up the fight to try to defeat Shinra along with Sephiroth in the story, and generally save the planet. He uses headdresses to attack, and generally uses physical attacks instead of anything else to dish out pretty big damage. In Rebirth, Remake Trilogy's second entry, he's also incredibly good at protecting his friends and dealing damage back when he takes damage as a vengeance system. But that is that. Let's talk about how we go about making that in D&D, shall we? And the first thing, as ever, is the background. I've gone for the scribe background here, but I think a few different ones fit. You could go for sage. I think he fits the sage quite well. You could go for hermit, as he grew up in a relatively isolated area of the world, and you could certainly go for guard or even soldier, or certainly the experiment from the Crooked Moon ones, if you would like to do so. I've gone for the scribe because I like skilled as a feat. I just think it's cool, and Red 13, despite his young age, is good at a great many things. So we're going to take investigation and acrobatics here for the basic skill proficiencies, and with skilled itself, we're going to take insight, survival, and nature. For our stat scores, we're going to take a +1 in wisdom and a +2 in dex, because we're mostly going to be using dex. And then we get to our species. We're going for the warg, which is a new creature type. This is a monstrosity. Your size is medium. You have a 40-foot speed. You get dark vision of 60 feet. You get proficiency in perception skill and advantage on all perception checks that rely on hearing or smell, which is very fitting with him being very good at smelling things. You also get an unarmed strike, which allows you to do a 1d8 plus your strength mod instead of the normal unarmed strike. You'll note that we are not using an unarmed strike, and that's because we will be using the steel jaws weapon, which is also from the Frontiers of Eberron Quickstone book, which gives us a 2d6 modifier instead of 1d8, and it gives us both the topple and finesse masteries too, and only wargs can use these. You can obviously flavour this as in headbutting things, biting things, or doing as cool front flips if you would like to. Flavour is free. It's for the pack, which allows him to give the help action as a bonus action, which is just nice to have access to. Natural armor gives us an AC of 13 plus our dex mod, which is great because we'll be maxing our dex. But we do have some trade-offs because we are quadruped. We cannot use standard weapons, and while we can do somatic components with spells, we have disadvantage on ability checks that require fine manipulation, such as sleight of hand. We can carry a creature that is medium size or smaller on us as a rider if we want to, which is funny, and we must wear barding armor if we're gonna wear armor, which is very, very expensive. It's also a little bit trickier for us to climb generally, but we're gonna fix that later on because of the class we're going for. Our starting specs are specs, when I say specs, 8 in strength, 17 in dex, 15 in con, 8 in intelligence, 16 in wisdom, and 8 in charisma. Nanaki being a high wisdom character, I think fits perfectly. You could argue he's high intelligence instead, but we're going ranger, which means we need to be high wisdom. I'm actually going to take this all the way to level 20, even though it would probably be stronger with a multi-class. I think ranger fits Nanaki quite well. Red 13 is a character highly in tune with the world, so it fits really, really well that he's a ranger. Therefore, at level 1, we get a couple of extra traits. I'm going to take animal handling, athletics, and stealth. And for our spells, I recommend taking Longstrider to increase our speed by another 10 feet for an hour, which means we can do this before combat. That means we got a 50-foot movement speed at this point, which is wonderful. And also Spectral Slash. Spectral Slash gives us is a bonus action to cast. It has a 20-foot range. We make a melee spell attack against a creature within 20 feet of us. They take 1d8 damage of your weapon's damage type, and you can then use your action to move up to 20 feet in a straight line toward the target to make the attack action against it. This is the attack action, not just a single attack, which means that we can use multi-attack when we get to it. What extra attack? Obviously, at level 1, not only do we get spellcasting, we get Favoured Enemy, the much maligned Ranger feature, which gives us Hunter's Mark, which is always prepared, and twice for free. We will be using Hunter's Mark for the entirety of this build, so I've tried to avoid other spells which have concentration as a result. We also get Weapon Masteries. You will want to take the Steel Jaws Mastery. It is not in D&D Beyond, but that gives us Topple, and that is very good. Level 2, we get Deft Explorer, which gives us 2 languages of our choice, along with an expertise. I recommend Perception, which means we have not only advantage on most perception checks, but also expertise in it, so we're very good at hunting things down, which is just good fun. I also recommend picking up the Cure Wounds spell, because we're going to be taking damage because of a fighting style. Our fighting style, we go for Savagery. This allows us to really get in there. We can add extra damage equal to our proficiency bonus to each of our melee weapon attacks until the start of our next turn, but it lowers our AC by 2. But if we have the ability to just get in there anyway, the AC loss isn't the end of the world. Cure Wounds is going to help, and obviously if you've got a support character, then that's going to help too. If you don't have a healer on your team, you might want to consider something else. There are plenty of other options, although unarmed fighting isn't going to do us any good. We're not using any weapons in our hands because we don't have hands, so that's a weird one. So maybe go, ironically, with protection or interception instead. Maybe even pack fighting if you have another character with a fighting style on your team. Level 3, we're going to get our subclass, and this time we're going for the Bloodhound, which is also from the Frontiers of Eberron. This is one that specializes in hunting specific things. It gives us some cool spells. At level 3 we get Alarm, 5 is Hold Person, 9 is Clairvoyance, 13 is Locate Creature, and 17 is Scrying. It's all generally divination focused, but it just really leans into the hunting aspect of it. We also get the Leyline Tracker ability, which allows us to, on a short or long rest, single out a creature as our bounty, but we must have seen them or possess an object that's been in their possession for at least 24 hours. You can also change your bounty to one creature you can see with no action required, which is wonderful. Your divination spells can also target your bounty at any distance, even if you can't see them, which is really, really cool. We also get Unwavering Attention, which lets us add an extra d6 damage once per turn to any enemy marked by either our Hunter's Marked or our bounty creature. You don't get to double up on this, but it's nice to have. Along with that, if you deal that extra damage as part of an opportunity attack, you get a new reaction from the start of the next creature's turn, which means that you get multiple reaction attacks, theoretically, which is really, really good. We will be leaning into that, as you will see. Speaking of leaning into it, at level 4, we're going to get our first feat. I recommend going for Sentinel and boosting our dex to 18. This allows us to make an opportunity attack when a creature within 5 feet of you disengages or hits someone other than us. I think it's fairly safe to assume we're going to be able to get this if there is another creature also in melee, which means this is a very reliable little damage boost, as well as a great way to shut an enemy down. Level 5, we get level 2 spells, among other things. The main ones here are going to be Magic Weapon, which we'll be using throughout the build. So Magic Weapon and Longstrider are both good. This allows us to give a +1 bonus to our weapon attacks and damage attacks. And also when we get to spell level 3, it becomes a +2. But if you want other cool level 2 spells, Giant Dodge is a fun one. It gives us a speed boost of 20 feet along with a +2 AC bonus to against any creature that's large or larger. And Feline Grace is very fitting as well, which is from Cthulhu by Torchlight, which makes you immune to the prone condition when you're not incapacitated. You can take a reaction to reduce your fall damage. You gain advantage on dex saves and saving throws, and your jump distance is doubled. Just a good one all around there. We also get extra attack at level 5, and we get our first damage check-in. Assuming we are on turn 1 doing Hunter's Mark, and on turn 2 then doing Spectral Slash into our full attack action, along with the opportunity attack, our damage is very respectable for any class, let alone a ranger. Our damage actually at this point is 53.8, which is really high. Part of that is because we're using magic weapon to boost our to hit chance, which helps. And part of that is just because we're adding d6s all over the place. So Hunter's Mark lets us 2d6s to our main 2 attacks, but then the special feature we get at level 3 gives us another d6, and then what the Hunter's Mark applies to both the bonus action spell, the Spectral Slash, and also the opportunity attack, as well as does our level 3 feature, the Unwavering Attention thing. So we're getting a lot of extra damage dice here, which is going to feel great if you crit. Very, very cool stuff. Speaking of critical hits, the members of my channel and my patrons all let me critical hit life. That was cheesy. I want to give a huge thank you to those of you who choose to support the channel. It means a huge amount. It really does. I am very bad at saying thank you for this, other than kind of gushing over the fact that I'm very thankful. So thank you all. I really do appreciate it. Level 6, we get Roving, which gives us a 10-foot speed boost when we're not wearing heavy armor. We're not planning on wearing any armor. It also gives us a climb speed and a swim speed equal to our speed. The climb speed thing should offset the awkward climbing earlier because we can basically run on walls. So that's pretty cool. That's how I view it. You might need to talk to your DM. Level 7, we get Relentless Pursuit. This allows us to use a reaction to chase a creature down if they're marked by our Hunter's Mark. This doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, and assuming we have a different creature marked and a different creature as our bounty, we could hit the creature with our bounty and then move after someone else, because we get more than one reaction, which is sick. Level 8, I recommend going for Skulker. I was really tempted to take a Charger or Focused Critical here. They're both solid feats, but I wanted to do something a bit different. And Red 13, while not an innately sneaky dude, does have to sneak here and there in the games, and he gives us some cool abilities, like advantage on the ability to hide, and if we attack and it doesn't reveal our location, I'm not sure how that happens when you're biting people, the miss won't reveal our location, which is cool. It also gives us a blind set of 10 feet, which is pretty tasty. I do think the other options are just as valid as this one, especially if you are taking this to 20, so choose your favorite here, but I like Skulker. It's also just not one I use very often. Level 9, we get 2 more expertise. I recommend Acrobatics and Survival. We also get level 3 spells. I'm just going to go for Revivify. Kind of pick your favorite from here on for a lot of these, apart from the last one, which we'll discuss when I get there. And at level 10, we get Tireless, which allows us to, as a magic action, give ourselves a number of temp health equal to 1d8 plus our wisdom modifier. We can do this a number of times equal to our wisdom modifier, which is 3 times at the moment, and we get all back on a long rest. We can also reduce our exhaustion by 1 every short rest, 2. We're using, for our damage check in here, we're using all the same basic strategies here, except we are magic weaponing at level 3 now to get more damage, which means that assuming we have advantage on 1 hit, which between the topple and our hiding and everything else, I think is pretty reasonable to assume, we should have a damage output of around 71.48, which is very, very respectable once again. Level 11, things get really fun. We get Eyes on the Prize. You focus everything on bringing your chosen target down. When you take the attack action and target only 1 creature with all of your attacks, you can make an additional attack against that creature. If the attack is a melee attack and it hits, you can either give them the grappled or the prone condition, which makes our ability to prone them extraordinarily high, and if they're already prone because of topple, we can grapple them and just keep them down, which is fantastic. If it's ranged, we can just make them prone, but we're not fighting at range, so that's not relevant. More importantly, extra attack. We're a fighter now. Level 12, we're going to go for Fairy Trickster here. This lets us boost our dex up to 20, because we've done so previously. Allows us to, when we take the disengage, ignore difficult terrain, which is great as it leans into that really acrobatic style of fighting that Red 13 has. And if we hit a creature with an attack roll, we can fluster them, forcing them to make a wisdom saving throw or get disadvantage on saving throws until the end of their next turn. We can use that in conjunction with Topple to ensure they get knocked over, basically. But it also makes other spells we might be casting, or anyone else is casting, a lot more. We can only do this a number of times equal to our proficiency bonus per long rest, but it's a really potent ability. Level 13, we get Relentless Hunter, so damage can't break our concentration on our Hunter's Mark, which is nice. But we also get our big spell here, Storm Maiden's Edge. This is from the Northlands book, and it allows us to imbue a weapon of our choice, which is going to be our Steel Jaw, with lightning, granting it an extra 2d8 lightning damage on a hit. Also, when you hit a creature with this, they have to make a strength save or be pushed 10 feet back. If they fail it by 5 or more, they then become prone, which is very cool. The damage also scales up at level 5 because it reads, although it's a level 4 spell, every spell 2 spell slots above 3, the damage goes up by 1d8. So it's good scaling when we get to 17 and we have access to 5th level slots. It's also just good now because we're doing multiple attacks. So hooray. Level 14 we get Nature's Veil, which allows us to, as a bonus action, just become invisible, which guarantees our ability to get advantage on a hit, which is nice. And at level 15 we get Nowhere to Hide, which allows us to cast True Seeing on ourselves once per short or long rest for free, which is amazing. We also get even better at tracking people down. At this point, I am assuming that on turn 1 we are Hunter's Marking, and on turn 2 we are Storm Maiden's Edge, then attacking. And again, opportunity attacks as before. The 1 opportunity attack, even though you're probably going to be getting more, means that our damage has jumped up to a very tasty 129.32, which is fantastic damage. Level 16, I'm going to take Heroic Rush and boost our con to 16. Our con's been 15 for a while. I think it's good to bump that up by 1. It allows us to, when we crit, increase our speed by 10 feet and give us advantage on attack rolls, which lasts for a turn. Also, if you reduced a creature to 0 with 0 hit points with an attack, you can use an ally within 30 feet of yourself to gain Heroic Inspiration, and they have to use it before the end of the next turn or it's wasted. You can do that twice per short or long rest. It's just a useful little boost, and it fits the team vibe that Red 13 and the Final Fantasy a lot have, especially in the remake games. Level 17, we get Precise Hunter, which gives us permanent advantage in everything, so we can definitely assume we have advantage now. And we also get level 5 spells. Endure is a fun one because it allows us to just become temporarily immortal, which is pretty cool. And Fenris's Howl is another cool choice. You could theoretically do turn 1 bonus action Hunter's Mark because you're not using a spell slot, and then Fenris's Howl. This allows you to choose creatures within 60 feet of you, any number of them. They have to make a wisdom save or become frightened, and while they are frightened of you and you hit them, you not only have speed doubled while one of them is frightened, but if you hit them, you do an extra 3d6 damage to a frightened creature with each of your attacks, which is a lot of extra damage. I'm not using that for our damage calculations, but it is worth noting because it is a theoretically very potent thing to be able to do. Level 18, we get a blind sight of up to 30 feet now, making Skulker a little less effective, making me... I still like it for Red 13, but you might want to choose something else. Level 19, I'm going to go for the Boon of Speed and boost our Dex to 21. This lets us disengage as a bonus action and gives us an extra 30 feet of movement speed too. And then level 20 gives us the powerful and very, very good and definitely not bad Foe Slayer, which boosts our Hunter's Mark to a D10 rather than a D6. I want to point out, so the damage here, standard, if you didn't have the D6 to D10 thing here, would be 128.5. It's actually gone down since level 15 because we haven't done much to boost our damage because there's just not that much you can do to boost your damage at this point. And the AC goes up by 2 every 5 levels. It's the way I balance it to try to keep it legitimate. It's still good damage, 128.5 is still very respectable. With the D10 instead, it goes up to 136.31. Just to point out how silly the boost is. That is a little under an 8-point damage. If you do manage to land a Fenris's Howl, though, and you're doing that, you're actually looking at 169.46, which is very, very good. So it's not bad damage-wise, all in all, and you can upcast Storm Maiden's Edge as well, which I haven't actually accounted for in this, because I wanted to do some research to make sure it was legit. And I still am not 100% sure it's not a weird typo, because D&D Beyond is like that sometimes. So it could actually be around 10 damage or so higher, which is very, very respectable for a ranger at any level. We really do start off strong with a level 5 appearance and the damage check in here, but I like the level 20 damage quite a lot as well. But that is it for this build. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed putting this one together. The Warg is super fun. I kind of want to play one. I don't know if I would go ranger or if I would go with the idea of being like a healer. Just like an absolutely stacked tank healer. It's really tempting. You could just have the fighter or the barbarian on your back and be running around with them. And man, that brings me all kinds of joy. You know, I know you know. But that's it for me. I hope that you are doing well and that you continue to do well. I hope that you take care of yourself and you'll have a good week. Do feel free to check out some of my other videos if you would like to do so. And I will see you whenever it is that I next see you, which should hopefully be Thursday. But until then, goodbye.